Hello and welcome to Your Government in Action, a presentation of Bahamas Information Services. I'm Carissa Williamson. With the goal of boosting opportunities and improving the tourism sector in the Bahamas, the government of the Bahamas signed a $350 million heads of agreement with Baha-Mar Resorts for expansion plans. The signing of the agreement for the project, slated to debut in 2029, took place at Rosewood on September 18, 2024.
Baha-Mar has already provided a significant overall boost to the economy and the tourism industry in the Bahamas over the past 7 years, and the transformation certainly continues today. Its luxury hotel, casino, golf course, convention center, and water park have all become an integral part of our nation's tourism product and strategy. As we've heard, $400 million new investments, 625 employees, new employees, and business opportunities in this area and across the country. 350 new rooms, multi-purpose rooms, but family-oriented facility, luxury resort. I've seen the renderings as you have, and it's simply magnificent. I've always said that one of the things that constrain our growth in the Bahamas is the lack of room inventory. And I'm delighted that the developer and Baha-Mar are responding to this need for additional room inventory. And certainly we welcome this opportunity to expand stopover visitors. Baha-Mar is already a significant draw, and therefore benefits all of the industry and not just the properties here itself. The commitment today speaks to the long-term optimism that Baha-Mar has for the future of the Bahamas and Bahamians. And one of the key reasons I believe that Baha-Mar has already been successful is its commitment to the people of the Bahamas, its employees, and its role as magnificent corporate citizens for the Bahamas. We look forward as partners in the tourism industry to continue to work extremely closely with Baha-Mar. We are a nation, of course, poised for continued growth and prosperity. And with partners like Baha-Mar, we will continue to show the world what is possible for our small country and for an industry really that's renowned around the world. And we continue to punch above our weight class around the world with a reputation to match that's really the talk of the Caribbean and the tourism industry all around, not just the Caribbean, but all around the world.
Today marks the beginning of an exciting new chapter for Baha-Mar, one that underscores the strength of our nation's tourism industry and its incredible potential. The expansion of Baha-Mar, with its continued investment in the development of Cable Beach, is a shining example of how we continue to attract significant global investment. This project represents a commitment to the ongoing growth of our economy and the enduring confidence investors have in the Bahamas. And I'll repeat that, the enduring confidence investors have in the Bahamas. From developing a new condominium hotel complex to expanding world-class amenities like the Baha-Mar Bay Water Park and the new pier facilities, this expansion will further elevate Baha-Mar's already outstanding reputation as a premier destination and, as I said, luxury of choice. These initiatives will enhance guest experiences and create hundreds of new jobs for Bahamians, ensuring that Baha-Mar continues to be a key driver of our economic success. This dawn of a new chapter for Baha-Mar is a signal to the world that the Bahamas is open for business, ready to embrace new opportunities and steadfast in our vision of sustainable growth. Baha-Mar's continued growth is a powerful demonstration of what can be achieved through partnership. Since its inception, this project has been a collaborative effort between the government and private sector stakeholders, and the results speak for itself. This expansion reaffirms the strength of our relationship with CTF BM Holdings and its parent company, highlighting their deep-rooted commitment to our country's development. The $554 million capital investment into this phase, along with the redevelopment of the Melia Hotel and New Condo Hotel, shows how long-term partnership can foster sustainable development that benefits both investors and the people of the Bahamas. Let this be a model for future projects, where collaboration, mutual respect, and shared goals can unlock extraordinary potential. Today's signing is a clear vindication of the strength and resilience of our tourism industry and economy, and a reminder of the opportunities that lie ahead. As we continue to build and expand, it is clear that to further solidify our position as a premier destination, we need more room inventory and increased airlift to match growing demand. With Bahamas expansion, we are adding crucial room inventory to cater to more guests, bringing more heads in beds, and ensuring that we continue to attract a higher volume of stopover visitors. But as we add these rooms, we must also work in parallel to increase airlift to the Bahamas, ensuring more direct flights with greater frequency from key international markets is essential to sustainable growth. Friends, we are entering a brave new era, an era defined by the remarkable investments we see today and the full maximization of Bahamian potential. While we celebrate the expansion of Bahama and welcome new investments, what matters most to me is ensuring that Bahamians are not just participants or onlookers, but leaders in this industry. As we continue to attract the world to our shores, we must open doors for Bahamian leadership at the highest levels. We need to guarantee that Bahamians are fully unhindered in their involvement, steering the future of tourism in the Bahamas. I wish to thank and extend my deepest gratitude and thanks to Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper for his unwavering leadership in driving our tourism growth. His vision and commitment have helped ensure that the Bahamas remains a premier destination for travelers and investors alike. I also want to thank the Director of Investments, Felicia Woods Hanna, and hard-working team for making today's event a reality, and many more yet to come, and those have been passed. Their dedication has been instrumental in bringing us to this pivotal movement in our nation's journey. I'd also like to thank Ka Shun Chang, or Henry Chang, the chairman of CFD BM Holdings, for his continued expression of confidence in the Bahamas. We met just before last Christmas, and we were talking about what we were going to do with the Melia. And I was urging them to reopen Melia, and he said he'll do something better. And this is the result of what that better will be.
Your Government in Action recently sat with Minister of Labor and the Public Service, the Honorable Pia Glover-Roll, to discuss the initiatives that her ministry has implemented to ensure that Bahamians are fully equipped with skills and knowledge to thrive in the workplace.
So recently I had the opportunity to host a courtesy call with the Charlotte Knowles Thompson Scholarship Agency. And that agency hosted 22 universities from across the world. And we saw it as an opportunity to align with what the agency was doing, with what our goals are for the Ministry of Labor and the Public Service in terms of professional development and training. We want to enhance our current training offerings for the public service, but we want to make sure that we're giving our public servants accredited training, giving them customized opportunities to learn, allowing them to have opportunities for scholarships and grants, but most importantly, exposing them to the best universities that are available. So that opportunity was one that was met with great enthusiasm. We had accompanying me the Director of Labor, the Director of Training for the Ministry of Labor and Public Service, and the Executive Chair of the National Training Agency, along with the Executive Chair of the National Apprenticeship Program. Ensuring that we encompass all of the training opportunities for the public service in this courtesy call was important because we want to ensure that we're delivering on every level for public servants in terms of accredited training opportunities. Right now, we have a lot of in-house training opportunities available for public servants. We have our Public Service Center for Human Resource Development, that is known as PRSHAD, that gives on-the-job training from BJCs up to professional development courses for public servants, and that is year-round. We have our National Training Agency that has recently included a leadership training program that is being openly embraced by many public service ministries and departments. We have our National Apprenticeship Program that was recently legislated that seeks to give opportunities of apprenticeship, work and train simultaneously for public servants and of course the wider community, especially attracting young people. Well, the Ministry of Public Service has a training department, the Public Service Center for Human Resource Development, that offers training throughout the year for public servants on the job training, and this ranges from BJC level courses up to professional development courses and even personal development courses for public servants. Our goal is to ensure that we introduce accredited courses so that our public servants can not only train on the job, but if they decide to leave the public service, that they leave with these skills that they've acquired on the job. We have the National Training Agency that offers soft skills training, workforce readiness training, but now a leadership management module that has been recently introduced to ensure that we're preparing our supervisors to lead and manage people. And of course, our recently legislated National Apprenticeship Program that is geared towards the youth, those coming out of, matriculating out of high school, but persons who want to probably retool or change their professions and career path. This is an opportunity for training while you work, and we're looking forward to also ensuring that there are accredited courses tied to our National Apprenticeship Program.
More of Your Government in Action when we return. Welcome back. Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Senator the Honorable Ryan Pinder, highlighted the disproportionate effect of climate change on small island developing states such as the Bahamas as he discussed changing climate finance to climate justice at an event held on September 23rd, 2024 during Climate Week New York.
When you think about climate finance, and especially concessionary climate finance, the hoops that a small country like the Bahamas has to jump through to even be able to try to access those are significant. But some of the changes that we think need to happen is, the Bahamas is regarded as having a high GDP per capita income. That means that we get graduated out of many of the concessionary frameworks. Now, you would think that, okay, so you're a rich nation. Well, that's not the case. We have executives and a significant amount of expatriate population who are wealthy. But the real indigenous Bahamians, the Bahamian citizens themselves, if you would have them isolated as an income group, we would qualify for concessionary financing. So automatically, we don't qualify for a lot. What we want to see is a vulnerability index be used when you talk about concessionary financing. Who are the most vulnerable countries? What does vulnerability mean? And those should be the ones who get first priority to concessionary financing. It's very frustrating that we have a climate crisis that affects the Bahamas and other small island developing states. We have hurricanes that come through and do massive damage year after year, island after island. And then we have to go out and borrow at high interest rates just to rebuild. And it's a perpetual cycle. And we're borrowing from the same countries who have caused the climate crisis that we're borrowing for to rebuild. So it's a crazy cycle, it's circular, and it really puts countries like the Bahamas in a situation where it's a perpetual end. And at some point in time that your debt burden becomes so large, you can't now develop your country and you can't now develop your people. And then it all blows up, and guess who steps in? The IMF. Sure. I mean, diplomacy is good, right? We all want to be diplomats, and we all want to be nice to people, and that's fine, and that's all good. But that really doesn't get you anywhere. I think we've seen that with the results out of COP. Year after year. I think when you look at the loss and damage fund out of COP that is unfunded and really not properly set up and certainly not serving the mandate, diplomacy has an end, and it has an end point, and we get tired of talking. We believe that you have to be forceful as a jurisdiction, especially a jurisdiction who is most vulnerable. We are very active at the International Court of Justice on the request for an advisory opinion. That advisory opinion will be whether states themselves can be held liable for neglecting climate regulation, neglecting greenhouse gas regulation, and effectively perpetuating the climate crisis. We think that that's going to be a landmark case at the International Court of Justice. I'm prepared to go up in December and argue in front of The Hague on this issue. It is an issue that's perpetuated by small island developing states. And we believe that if we can win that case and get an advisory opinion that says that states themselves have liability for failure to act in the climate crisis, that gives us a legal position and a position where we can impose liability on those who are polluting the most. And then that translates, I think, into climate finance. It translates into not only concessionary loans, maybe it translates into sovereign loan forgiveness, taking some of that debt burden off of small countries like the Bahamas so we can actually develop for our people. And so we think that climate litigation is a legitimate grounds for us to pursue. And the end point is, I think, climate finance reform at the end of the day. And we think, small country carrying a big stick is an important position to be in the world. And yes, we're playing in every forum, right? We're diplomats. We litigate. We go to the United Nations and try to get environmental concerns put in any negotiations we're doing. I'll give you an example. Recently, I was up here in New York at the United Nations negotiating the Global Tax Convention that the United Nations is sponsoring. And I fought tooth and nail to get environmental concerns placed within those terms of reference, because what's important is that you link environmental issues to taxation as well. And you do it in a multilateral global setting where every country is treated equally. And so we believe that participating in each element is going to help us put together a big picture and a comprehensive package of climate finance, both globally and domestically. We think that's very important. So I think that issue is really twofold. One, it's certainly a complexity issue on how do you access these funds. And it's not only sovereigns looking to access climate finance funds. I mean, that's a problem we have worldwide in a number of different areas. Those that are involved in NGOs would know this. When you apply for grant funding, for example, the complexities that an NGO has to undertake just to be able to submit a comprehensive grant funding application is enormous. Well, imagine now a small country. We have 400,000 people in our country, and we have limited capacity. Certainly I could probably count the climate experts on maybe my fingers and toes that are in the Bahamas. And so we have a capacity issue as well. So you have the complexity issue that we look to simplify. That's a tough one because that seems to be getting worse by the day. And then we have a capacity issue inside the Bahamas and inside small countries like the Bahamas in order to have the expertise and talent to do what is necessary in this complex world. So first and foremost, I think part of it is capacity building on our side, and we're certainly willing to participate in that capacity building, but we would want to see equal treatment on the funding side. And then the question is, okay, is it loans, and are you just facilitating a debt load of a small sovereign country? Or are we really looking at grants and money that is available to be given or taxed? I spoke about the the Tax Convention of the United Nations and how we're trying to link environmental concerns with global tax policy. CARICOM, which is the global group of Caribbean nations, has taken a position. We believe that there should be a 2% tax on the net income of fossil fuel petroleum manufacturers and straight down the value chain. And we think that 2% tax should be a global tax that goes into a fund to help fund vulnerabilities as a result of the climate crisis. And we're glad we were able to get environment tagged to tax in the tax convention terms of reference, and these are the types of things that we're going to be advocating. Because really, it shouldn't only be the countries, we talked about the ICJ matter, that are liable. We think private companies who have ignored, in the face of hard evidence over the decades and generations of what they are doing to the world, should now pay, and should now pay those who are most vulnerable. And so, if we can set up a mechanism whereby it's not concessionary loans, and it's really a pool of funds that are available to those who are vulnerable, I think that creates some simplification. Then you just have to qualify and show that what you're using the money is really for proper adaptation and mitigation efforts.
Government officials and distinguished guests gathered for the grand opening of the Neil C. Ellis Library and Museum. The ceremony, marking the inauguration of a new cultural and educational hub, took place on September 18th, 2024.
I'm very happy to be a part of this event, which details downstairs in a visual way the life and times of one of our fine sons, Bishop Neil Ellis. Indeed, his life has been most remarkable, and the museum that we're about to see is concrete proof of not only his own life, but the possibility of the Bahamian child. The exhibits begin with the images of a little boy attending public school on the island of Bimini, and thereafter traces a most extraordinary journey that perhaps could not have been imagined in those early days in Bimini. In those days, Bimini was a fishing mecca and barely identifiable as more than a dot on the global map. But as we are reminded in Matthew chapter 4, verse 19, God's mission mandates the ordination of the fishers of men, and it is in that place that we find the early beginnings of this fisher of men. His brilliance was immediately identified by Lyndon Pindling, the beginning of his journey, and the very special people thereafter who helped to shape his growth and development, including his wife, with him all these years, who is his partner. What would transpire from those early childhood days depicted in those images that you will soon see could only be the manifestation of God in the life of Neil Ellis. It is proof positive that when God's hand is on the life of someone, amazing things can happen and no one can stop it. And when you go downstairs, you can see plenty Punch articles. I ain't going there today. It ain't for lack of trying. This documentation of the life in writings and images and artifacts as displayed in that space is therefore of particular significance to little boys and little girls everywhere throughout the length and breadth of this nation. It is a loud statement to them of who they are and whose they are. But it is also important to record and preserve our history, as Marcus Garvey observed many years ago. A people without knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. Bishop Ellis's contribution to our culture and national life is a part of that history. His leadership, innovation, and influence have shifted paradigms. And listen to this part, please. And it is important that that be duly recognized for our orderly understanding of things. The importance of preserving our history is why we are in the planning and organizing stages for the establishment of a national museum, one that will tell the story of our people, our painful struggles and our incredible triumphs, a sober reflection and an uplifting celebration. It is why we have commissioned the first ever modern Bahamian history text for our students. The African proverb that Perry Christie always famously recited, where it says, until the lion learns to write, every story will glorify the hunter. I want to thank this lion for beginning to write the story of his life.
Bishop Ellis is a singular man of what I call manifold influence. One fateful day in 1987, he received a call to serve. He did not fret. He did not hide away. He did not worry about leaving behind a surging career and stellar reputation as a successful business leader. He took up the charge and dedicated his days to spreading the good word. Since then, his evangelism has healed and inspired communities across our archipelago and around the world. He has ministered to multitudes, sharing scriptures, parables, and personal anecdotes for the benefit of others. He didn't just do it in person. He did it via television, radio, and the internet. When the world went digital, so did he. I'm still trying to get there. His sermons provided guidance and solace to the lost and weary, even to those whose personal circumstances prevented physical attendance. My good friend, Bishop Ellis, as you would have heard, has his roots, and as we all know, in the island of Bimini. And those roots have never withered. Time and time again, he has shown himself to be a true son of the Bahamian soil. He has flourished, even through the many seasons of life, and his vitality has served as an inspiration to so many. Even more than a leader, he's a community builder. He brought countless Bahamians together, and today is just another testament to that spirit of togetherness. That's how and why we are here today. When Bishop Ellis formed Mount Tabor Union Baptist Church with his wife Patrice and 11 charter members, he solidified a legacy of civic and spiritual outreach. In time, he became a pastor of thousands, tens of thousands, and a role model to many more. After a decade as the presiding prelate of the Global United Fellowship, he has finally retired, having brought up a new generation of evangelists to carry on his crucial remit. My friends, his is an impressive precedent set in motion by the Almighty God. And he's been called upon on many occasions to quiet the stormy waters, to put fires out, to extinguish fires, and to ease tensions that continue to divide us as a people. I call him very often to assist in healing some of my wounds when I have them. And for that, Bishop Ellis, I am eternally and will continue to be grateful to you.
I'm Carissa Williamson, and this has been Your Government in Action, a proud presentation of Bahamas Information Services. Join us on Tuesday evenings, where we bring you highlights, coverage, and information as we continue to do what we do best, linking people and government.